We're live. All right.
Are you sure we're live? Oh, yep.
There we
Now
go.
we are.
Now
Okay.
I hit the go live button. It must be live now.
Okay, I'm just gonna say for the record.
I hit the go live button. It must be.
Hey,
Say for the record
we can hear ourselves.
that live is actually not a word that applies.
Jim was testing the audio before the Tuesday live stream. So Monday I got involved in helping with that. And he's got me with my device trying to be in a different part of the blanket fort than him. And I'm looking at the device, and all of a sudden it pops up and says live in the corner. And I'm like, Jim, why are we live? I'd rather be dead.
It occurs to me we're not click make big on our screen either. So
Oh yeah, I should do that. Let me.
Because squinty eyes trying to read the chat from that far away.
There we go.
There
Hi,
you
Mom.
go.
Hi, Wally.
Hi, Wally.
So I assume we have more watchers than just Mom and
We have
Wally,
6.
but they're the ones that are chit-chatting.
We
Oh,
have
and then we
6.
have Carlton.
Hey,
Carlton.
Carlton.
I don't know. It's not that I actually want to be dead. It's
Hey,
just
Ben.
that I feel that way.
Yeah, so my question to you guys is, did you listen all the way to past the credits at the end?
Just
Did-
like a
did
Marvel
you?
movie, the
It's
Writer
just
Dojo
like a Marvel
has a thing. So,
Yes, there's an after credit scene.
and,
Yes.
and if you listen to it, you will get a treat.
No, that was fun. You guys, those of you who saw the writer, listen to that today. We did that at LibertyCon.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it was at 10:30 at night, stuffed into Steve Diamond's room with his daughter and with his son and his wife,
Mhm.
and sitting around on the queen size beds and talking. And it was
Yeah.
supposed to be a
This
half
was
hour
supposed to be
thing.
30 minutes. Like, hey, can we see you guys for 30 minutes? Like, great, we have to be at a party.
We were supposed to be
So-
like 4 other places.
Yeah.
So
Like, great. We can do 30 minutes. We could, no problem. This was an hour and a half later,
hour and a half later.
which major props to Jack for editing it down to only an hour.
Yeah, it was
Um,
pretty amazing. He got it because we had a few tangents that were
Just a few.
kind of hilarious. So
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was sitting behind Law Dog on one bed. So, and every time I wrestled, he was jumping. So, because he knew if he said something wrong,
He's gonna
and you
smack
were on
it.
the other side, sort of kitty corner from him. So,
And Wally, I haven't listened to it yet either because work was also poopy today. So
and yeah, we did see the
Same.
picture of him sitting there in the chair because literally I was right behind him on the bed. Right, I sat down behind him right after on the other bed. So,
yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing how many people you can squeeze into a hotel room.
Yeah. I remember going to conventions when we put like 16 teenagers in one
Yeah.
one room.
Oh my
It's
God.
like, and which
Yeah.
part of the floor did you? I always took the bathtub. So,
I always took the couch because just
Yeah.
put me on the couch.
Mhm.
People were willing to share like feet in the face. And,
no. My days of doing that are long gone.
Oh,
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
If I'm sharing my bed in a hotel room, it will not be.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. People.
Nope.
Oh,
We'll just nope right out of that room.
Yeah.
So,
yes, we're a little.
and we got Insta Launch today too.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
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 Instapundit posted
Moggies in space.
So Pinup Noir got a big talking up on Writer Dojo and Moggies in Space. So it'll be
Mhm.
kind of interesting to see how the fallout from
See
that.
the
So,
numbers tomorrow.
we should
Yeah.
see a little boop.
boop, 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 boop.
Yeah. So a lot of the outtakes were interesting because he started asking Law Dog questions that he's like, I don't
Rude.
have. They're asking him questions, and John is pointing at me.
I'm literally behind him going, talk to her. She doesn't know anything.
And he's like, I don't know. It's like, can I tag Courtney in on this question because we were there just like to watch.
Yeah, well,
and make sure
actually,
he didn't say anything stupid.
seriously, we meant to supervise.
Yeah.
I mean, so because he was going to commit us to something and get us in trouble again. So,
And it's my job to say no.
yeah, but
So-
no, it was good because there was a moment he stopped and went, "That's her job." I'm like,
Yeah.
And Jack's going, "We need to talk to Courtney." So
Yeah. And there were some things where I kind of went off slightly on a tangent, and they were very interested to follow, but it was not germane to the conversation. So
yeah,
we'll
we're supposed to go hang with them at 20 Looks 50K, and they were like, "We need to have you on the podcast again." I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so
I'm
we'll see if it
totally willing
happens if we have time.
Yeah.
So
If we have time, if they have time, because I know
Yeah.
Twin Books is going to be
it's
super
insane
crazy.
as usual.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing that got asked was about going into much more crunchy details.
So yeah,
And that we can discuss on the broadcast, and
Yeah.
in fact, probably will do next week.
Yeah. Yeah, because we just did a quick overview of how Raconteur came to be.
Yeah. And some and some of the details are
they're kind of esoteric.
we did this because it worked for us,
Right.
and there's no real right way on some of it. So
Most small presses will not have as large a staff as Raconteur did right away because we were
Well, it
already
started with like one anthology with Courtney and Ian,
Mhm.
right? And then we just kind of by osmosis, it was like when water drop gets too close to another water drop, we kind of went.
we have coalesced because I had done so. People keep assuming that But Not Broken and Can't Go Home Again, which are the PTSD anthologies of Raconteur Press. They're not.
They're not. They're all her.
They're Sandra Lee Studios, which is my publishing imprint. And I had never intended to become a publisher. I had intended to publish my own stuff, and possibly my husband's if he ever wrote anything, and possibly my mother if she ever finishes anything. Hint, hint, mother. But so the PTSD anthologies, I had done those, so I had that experience already. So when Raconteur started, I was kind of like, here if you needed questions answered with anything. So what and I had the experience with PubShare, so in sharing that information was kind of where we got the ability to be able to, okay, this is actually going to work.
Yeah. Well, because I'd done my solo self-publishing for a while and knew a lot of the ins and outs that most people don't think about with Amazon, because I'd been on the bleeding edge of some of the publishing stuff. So taking my experience plus your experience made it a viable.
Because both of you are highly experienced independent authors in your own right.
Right.
You know, you both have spent years and years in this.
Yeah.
So
I've been doing this since like 2010, and you're even longer in it than I think.
Ish. I think maybe 2009. It may have been 2010 too, but
yeah,
I did other stuff before that with like
you have more small press experience than I do for sure, because I kind of avoided that until I couldn't avoid it
so you couldn't anymore, right?
You stood still too long. You stood still next to us.
Well, and then that's the other thing that we get asked a lot is about North Texas Troublemakers is not the same thing as Raconteur Press.
No, completely separate things.
And I get asked, well, are they going to coalesce further? And the answer to that is also no.
No,
they don't want to.
It's our social group.
North Texas Troublemakers is a support group.
Yeah.
It's not going to become a business entity.
If anything, Raconteur Press is a tiny little subset of North Texas.
Right? Yeah.
It's something that grew out of sort of like a mole out of we were a growth on the side of North Texas Troublemakers. So
we've brought others into North Texas, like Three Ravens, were love the heck out of them.
Yeah. So I mean,
well, and today someone shared about Jumpmaster Press.
Oh yeah, they're great guys.
Which for the people that keep coming to us saying, "Hey, will you do a novel?" We're not ready yet, but go see Jumpmaster.
Well, the nice part was that we had the chance, because we went to Imaginarium, we had the chance just on a random occurrence. We didn't realize that we met a wife and people who'd all been in the military together, because we were sitting in the bar with the lady who did the amazing newsletter class, and she knew Jean and Kyle because her husband had been in the military with them.
Yeah.
So we got a chance to really sit with them and go through their processes because they were interested in how we were doing what we were doing.
Right, and that's a big thing, especially with a bunch of the small presses, is we're all learning from each other. It's like, okay, well, how do you do this? Well, what do we do? What are you doing with this?
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to get to know them and to understand their philosophy and how they got into what they got into,
why they do what they do,
and
which is similar to our reasons we do what we do. But yeah, they were really cool folks, and I really liked them.
Mm-hmm.
And straight up and honest, they were just laid out all of their contracts and how they do it right in front of us. And I'm like, yes. They're like, so what do you do? Upshare. They're like, 24 anthologies. Are you insane? I'm like, you drive a giant trailer all over the country selling physical books, and you call us crazy?
And their trailer is great. It says, "This is our book trailer." It's like a regular trailer, but with books. And I'm like,
They have this giant trailer they pull behind this huge pickup.
Pickup, yeah.
That is awesome.
No,
Yeah.
but they're really cool folks.
And,
So.
and the other thing is, and Alma Boykin did an article on Mad Genius Club this week about it, which is that Simon & Schuster has been bought by an investment group.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the investment group that purchased Simon & Schuster has a reputation for dumping debt onto the businesses that they buy and basically sinking the businesses.
They use it as a way to dump things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the probability of Simon Schuster being a going concern in 5 years
If
is
that long.
starting to look shaky.
Scary.
And the
Yeah.
reason that this is a concern is because Bain is tied
Yeah.
to Simon & Schuster.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They distribute through, and so the birth of indie presses, of small presses, in the wake of the big publishing houses getting more and more congealed into one homogenous mass, and even though the federal government denied Randy Penguin buying Simon & Schuster because of that concern,
Mm-hmm.
it's still they're circling the drain.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So for those of us who are old enough to remember when rocks were soft and uphill both ways to school, we had this thing called Ma Bell,
Mm-hmm.
which was the phone in the entire nation was
Yeah.
all run by one big. There were regions, but it was like Ma Bell.
Mhm.
And in the 70s, they
Mhm.
decided cell phones were stupid and nobody would want one.
Right.
Mhm.
So when they finally got rid of Ma Bell, suddenly there was this amazing explosion of technology and choice.
Yep.
We're doing
Yeah.
the exact same thing in publishing right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
We still have remnants of Ma Bell,
Mhm.
but we're getting all kinds of variety in
Yeah.
publishing, which is fabulous. And a whole bunch of people who keep trying to replicate Ma Bell.
Yeah.
Well, and that's going to be, I mean, it still is to this day. If you look at a lot of how telephone and cable and whatnot work, you see that it takes a really long time for there to be a lot of change.
Mm-hmm.
But we're definitely been in the forefront, and I mean, we were on the bleeding edge of self-publishing.
Yeah.
You guys were.
Because,
Yeah, definitely.
Because for me, it was I could control my product, and I was already used to being a businesswoman and doing that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
I have another Dark Ages of Time story.
Yeah.
So this actually reaches further back even than that. Because with the advent of gigantic, fast Kodak copiers, industrial
Mhm.
copy machines, a guy named Alan Newcomer invented Hypatia Press
Mhm.
and worked with Julie May's husband doing Starmont Press and doing quick publication of books
Mhm.
because he could print the book on the Kodak printer and then used a small bindery to glue up the books
Mhm.
and put them together. And that was before my child was born. So that was 28 years ago.
yeah,
And this is just before Dean Wesley Smith and Kristen and Catherine Rush started Pulp House because we taught them
Mm-hmm.
at Hypatia Press. That was like the very beginning of small independent presses, but they were still dealing with the actual must have the physical thing.
Right.
You didn't have internet at that point.
yeah.
So,
Well, I don't think that print books will ever completely go away.
I don't think so either.
And I don't think they should. I'm glad they won't. I do think that print on demand will improve as time goes on
Oh yeah.
because it's not that difficult to improve it. What's going to be the big thing right now is this whole supply chain disruption and the cost of paper, because I mean, we've even been impacted with that, had
Yeah.
to reevaluate pricing, and I need to go in and take a look at all of mine because of this.
Yeah.
But because the cost of paper is going up, and that's going to make physical books more expensive.
But there was also something that Clinton did way back when, where he
Yes.
insisted that a certain amount of paper used for print was supposed to be a certain level of recycled paper,
Yeah.
which launched the
kills.
cause,
Yeah.
launched
Yeah.
it into the stratosphere in terms of cost for paper.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
No, and there's, I mean, and the other thing that got discussed on Alma's post about the whole publishing industry thing was Thor Power Tools, which I had never really looked at the case before.
oh,
And of course, when
it's
I went and looked
fascinating.
it up, I'm like,
What is
of
that?
course it's a Warren Court decision. Because the Warren Court seemed to be really, really prone to not thinking through the consequences of their rulings as far as the Supreme Court goes. So,
gee,
but
amazing.
the impact of that on the ability for publishers to maintain an inventory of slow-selling books, suddenly now you have books that are being pulped and remaindered that never even get a chance to be sold.
Yeah.
So the Thor Power Tools case, if nobody realizes what it is you have to pay taxes on your inventory every year.
Yeah, isn't that great?
So if you carry inventory, which is why the Thor Power Tools case immediately cuts print runs in half.
Yeah.
Because if you can't sell it that month, you can't sell it.
Yeah.
For the big publishing houses.
Yeah.
And they don't want to carry inventory of it.
No,
Because they have to.
it's a paperwork nightmare.
Which is why I think that print on demand is more and more going to be, because I mean, there's a small press doesn't need to carry an inventory of books. You don't have to have print runs of 1,000 books or 10,000 books of copies of a book.
So
It can literally be printed as the consumer wants it, which is so much more efficient in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it used to be the only way to break even was to do print runs of a minimum of 200, and to be able to keep the price reasonable.
Right.
You know, so
Which is why, like, people ask us if we're going to do a calendar or something like that. It's like, we've got lots of great images, yes, but we would have to have print runs of no less than 100 and preferably 250 to make the cost to the buyers reasonable. And that means that we risk having, especially with calendars, which are an ephemeral thing, there's that risk of, okay, we're going to be able to sell 100 and then we've got 150 that we're going to have to trash.
Yeah.
And so you have to price it so that when you sell those 100, that makes up all of what your cost was, and you risk making no money.
Yeah.
Joy of accounting.
So yeah, I mean, all of this, it has to go into your business calculations. And even when we're talking about ebooks, which nominally don't have a lot of cost involved in them, there's
It's beyond
still
time.
So
I mean, there is the time, and you
Well,
need to factor in your
exactly.
time,
and you
and
have
whether or
to
not
give your time.
the time you're putting into them
Yeah.
is giving you the return, you know, and how much you're front loading your work. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Even pre-ordering calendars, Ben, is difficult because let's say we open up the orders for pre-order calendars and we get 100 orders. We have to set the price at the beginning for the pre-orders.
well, yeah, or we have to say if we don't get 250 orders, we don't do it, we refund all the money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
so-
again is accounting
gee,
and a
another
nuisance.
paperwork nightmare.
So
No,
And-
thank you.
or we do it via Kickstarter and the Kickstarter doesn't fund and then it releases back to the things. But there's a reason I don't usually back Kickstarters, because the vast majority of Kickstarters don't end well.
No,
And
no.
I mean,
not all of us have Brandon's staff, so.
yeah,
But people get into that and they don't realize that they've bought themselves a huge headache, and fulfillment doesn't happen.
Mhm.
You know, because they
Yeah.
haven't anticipated that in putting their Kickstarter together.
and especially if you're running solo. I mean, there are people that do Kickstarters marvelously well. Maggie Hogarth is one
she's
of
great
them.
at it. Yeah.
But I've always looked at it and been like, my life is so tremulous, always has been, that I am afraid that I will get in this up to my neck
Good work.
and and then not be able to fulfill it. And I can't do that. That's why I've never done a Patreon either.
That's what a Kickstarter done badly sounds like. Coming at you.
Yeah. Well, I've backed Kickstarters that they said we'll fulfill in a year, and I'm still getting updates. They're like, okay, and part of it was they got hit by their printing costs doubled.
Yeah, which
I understand. It's like so it's
yeah.
just taking a little bit longer to get their stuff out. So now we're at 3 years.
Right.
And I'm still getting updates. Like we're still doing this. We're working. We're coming towards fulfillment, and I understand it's taking longer. But it's like I expect this in a year. We're at 3 years.
I backed a Kickstarter-like project over 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And just as she was about to start it, she got attacked by the woke mob and had to abandon it. So,
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and so we know these things can work, but we're also trying to be cautious and wise with what we take on.
Yeah.
Because we all still have our day jobs. So
yes, and sometimes the day jobs eat our brain.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that today, about how Raconteur Press right now is being front loaded with a lot of labor for return later.
Yeah.
And we know that, and we've all accepted that as an
Yes.
aspect of putting this together. So it's and also it's like, no, you don't get to commit us to more projects. And
yeah.
So there's been a whole lot of, we can handle this.
Yeah.
And no more.
Yeah.
And being very clear about what we can manage. Because sometimes the day job eats your brain. Something goes from, oh, this isn't too bad, to
massive disaster.
Oh dear.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
so
I mean, I have been very recently, now that I'm free to talk about some stuff, I have been very upfront about my mental health issues. And like today, most of the day I have been dealing with a low-level anxiety attack. And knowing logically that my brain needs to sit down and shut up and stop it doesn't actually help. So what it does do is it eats the creativity and makes it really, really difficult for me to do anything above and beyond the stuff that I know I need to do. So like if Jonna says, okay, you need to do this cover by this time, or we've got to have the layout done for Imagine That by this day so we can have it uploaded, that actually really helps me because I can't do that to myself. I need the external. And without the staff and structure that we have in place, we wouldn't have that. If I was trying to do this solo, it would be excruciatingly difficult to get
and there's
done.
So many different aspects of it to manage. So, and we're lucky that we've had a confluence of talent that has sort of become this one big raindrop. We've sucked in all of them, we've made this little, but we're also still figuring out our best practices, and how that works.
And someone who can live by a calendar, telling the rest of us that,
Well, okay, I was telling you in the car, because I'm not an author. You guys know this. I don't do author things, but I am a creative. So, and my impetus for me working in the theater as a costume designer is that if I don't get my job done exactly on time and the curtain goes up, the opera chorus will be naked. And I have to tell you that is great impetus, knowing the opera courses that I have known. So we will never miss a deadline. But I also understand what you have to do to backdate and to give people enough time to do the stuff they need to do.
Right.
Which is, what we've learned this year is like, we need a little more time.
Yeah.
From this to this and from that to that. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to make sure that works. So,
and
that's my thing.
And having a bunch of things in place just in case something goes down.
Yeah, like this month.
But
several
my
things
Lord.
go down.
Since just before LibertyCon to now, how many books have we published?
I don't know. I lose track.
We did Liberty Cards. We did. We've done 4.
So we did Pinup War the week before LibertyCon.
We got that done.
We had Imagine Cards. We had Moggies in Space.
We had LibertyCon cards.
Imagine
there was
that.
Space Marines in there, wasn't there?
Yeah, Space Marines too. Space Marines 2 is in there.
We've done 6 books since just before LibertyCon.
Mhm.
In the meantime, we've had Cedar dealing with massive heart attack of her husband.
Mhm.
You trying desperately to create new things to torture yourself with, also known as a month-long attack of those things.
Yeah, kidney
Stones.
stones.
I'm so tired.
I got really stoned.
You know, another friend with a massive health, very concerning issue, and then I got a snoot full of pecan smoke that put me down for the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, so we've had
That was
this
not fun.
ongoing ridiculous amount of stuff, but we still got all 6 books out. So we're kind of proud of ourselves.
Yeah, and you should be proud of yourselves.
We did test redundancy while there. We also learned that Courtney is never allowed to do layout when she's on pain pills.
I got like 90%. 90% was fine. 90% was fine. It's that last 10% that it was.
But
You
know,
do realize
fine.
I've got vellum, and you can always just shoot me stuff, and I will
yes,
get
but
it all
you
laid
didn't have
out.
time either. So
Like, I thought it was totally okay. It was,
it
just,
was hilarious. But you know, our wandering around going, what are we doing? Okay, we have to, this has to happen. So I'm saying, and poor Ian, he walked away. He said, write the damn introduction. He's like, oh, okay. But it's been good. It's been good. We've learned a lot. And we're remarkably resilient people, we are, even though we don't feel like it. So,
yeah.
So we got this pat on the back,
There
guys.
are times.
There are times.
There are times when I'm really tired of being resilient.
There are times I'm just really tired.
So
This would be
yeah.
one of those times.
She's had a long day.
She's had a very long day.
And so yeah, it's but we've learned.
Yes, we learn, and you just keep going because there really isn't an option to just stop and not keep going forward. You've always got to go forward. The world keeps spinning,
even if it's onto your face.
So
Yes, the sun rises, the sun sets.
yes,
It will
okay.
continue to do so whether or not you get up or not.
right. Well, I mean, staying in bed's not an option, but
Not when we have Henry.
Honestly, it's a very mom thing.
yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
being the 3 moms, I mean,
Yeah, Madeline
know.
Kahn applies. So
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but we continue with our resilience thing,
Mm-hmm.
and which I think is important, that we need to recognize just how much resilience we do have.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and I one of the things that I'm hoping that our audience gets out of, especially the more rambly bits like today,
like, we're
is,
not rambling at all.
is
No.
the fact that you can do this too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I am dealing with trying to talk my son through a crisis that isn't his, and it's not his job.
He's being so 18.
And on one hand, I'm like, he's being very noble and trying to help a friend, but the
Yes.
friend got himself into the bad situation, and the friend is going to have to figure out how to get himself
Yep.
out, because you have to learn. Sometimes you have to deal with the consequences of your actions, and you didn't think this through.
You may find a level of creativity you did not realize you had.
You can buy a airplane ticket, but if you have not got an ID, using the airplane ticket is going to be problematic.
But they won't let you use it. So.
Why do they let you buy it?
How did you get this?
Well, so person in question is very young, and there's no parental involvement, and
Hey, you know,
and now suddenly I'm the parent that's being involved, and I'm like, no, not my job. Not your job either.
Nope.
So yeah,
This falls into that. How is this my problem question?
Not my circus, not my monkeys.
Not my monkeys.
Nope.
No
Not at all.
monkeys. Oh my god,
And it just-
the monkeys thing.
Oh my god.
Oh, Ian had a moment in Writer Dojo that was epic, talking about what's the monkeys in the
He's convinced that since the internet knows how much he hates monkeys, that there are 3 monkeys that are assigned to Rack Enterprise and
in a
everything.
Mumbai
In a Mumbai-
boiler room. We're just with a flowchart of how to mess with them.
like everything that can go wrong with what our books has, and
right.
just-
Oh.
yeah,
And I think that's one of our strengths is we are completely honest about that.
mm-hmm.
We're just like, oh God, we just found one. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe we just did that.
Yeah.
So
Oh well,
That's right.
there's a typo. We will fix
we'll
the
fix
typo.
it.
Yeah.
And I even know whose stories involve the typo, so I'm going to send them a note going, we know. Wait, don't order your copy yet.
Mhm. Well, in the Writer Dojo a couple weeks ago, someone mentioned that their editor had actually added mistakes to their story. I'm like, well, that happens. It could be a layout person. It could be like there's any number of things that happen.
Yeah.
And someone tagged Brack into press and said, this is something that would never happen with these guys. Like, no. We make mistakes.
We can blow it in enormous, huge ways, and have. We won't tell you about our biggest mistake. So.
Nope.
And we try to use one another to check our mistakes, but even with a ton of eyeballs on a book, sometimes you still miss things. And I swear they hide until you publish them. And then when you're looking at the published work, all of a sudden you're like, where did that come from?
Well, why? You know what it is too? It's like a little monkey is going, ah!
Yes.
We're like, oh.
Yeah. Well,
Ethernet monkeys.
the best spell check you'll ever have is hitting send on an email.
Oh, you're not.
Yes.
Push the button, publish. Damn it.
5 minutes later.
Yeah.
It's just, I think we've all had that happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, the thing is that because we're agile, as either
really
as relative to traditional publishing, we can within 24 48 hours have the problem fixed. I mean,
sometimes.
Well, okay.
Amazon.
It's Amazon. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Oh man!
But we can at least try.
It's very trying.
Very trying.
But we just keep trying. So I can duck better. Yeah, maybe not so much.
And it depends on how quick your reflexes are. When you're really tired, the reflexes go away.
Yeah, no.
There were a couple mistakes where someone's like, I'm going to tell you about this tomorrow. And I'm like, that's a good plan.
No.
Because I'm not, just can't
no.
Yeah. Yeah, I run out of my cans earlier in the day these days.
Yeah.
And I get to the point where I just can't, and I go to bed.
Although I must admit, you're practicing your outrage, you're really improving. You're getting really good at your outrage. So, which is not something you did before.
No, well, I mean, it helps that I'm. It's not necessarily for me. So
well, but, I mean, you generally were not a person who expressed outrage.
And trained not to.
Trained not to. But outrage matters.
Yeah,
and there's points at which it should be applied.
Right.
So
and right now, I mean, today's whole thing was a lot of anxiety over that didn't take long, and it gave us no usable answers.
No, it gave you one.
It did. It gave us a negative.
Yeah, which was good.
So, yes.
We
have ruled something out. Now, onward to try and find something more useful.
Right? Yeah. It's like, that is the thing about, there's a lot of things about, there's a lesson here about life is just when you get your shoes polished, you step out the door and scuff one kind of thing. You think you're done, but you're never really done.
Yeah.
You're constantly having to fix things. There's always that one more goddamn thing, which is really annoying. But
yeah,
and nothing is ever perfect, and you carry on anyway.
Yeah.
Which is, if we had to put out a perfect book every time,
and you plan for futures. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that was part and parcel with my day today was. I got a phone call and set up an appointment for someone to come look at the house at a thing that's going to have to be fixed, a fairly large thing. So we're going to get a budget estimate on it so that we can set the money aside towards dealing with it, which then led to my husband and I having a somewhat animated half-an-hour conversation as I tried to focus on work, and we also were trying to figure out the scope of the project. but you plan for the future and you make those phone calls and set up those appointments. And even if you're not sure when you'll actually be able to execute the plan,
Yep.
So you start making the plans because it's got to be done.
Pretty much.
So,
Yeah, I know for the next year, we're looking at budgets at,
Oh,
how are we getting places? What are we doing? What
Yeah.
what is our scope of being there?
yeah,
Like we've got 2 that we're just going to go.
yeah.
We're not
Because
taking
we're
books, we're not
trying-
taking,
Our goal is to expand our reach
yes.
Yeah.
and to meet new authors and new groups of people that we don't know
Mhm.
as Racketeer Press.
Right.
So, and because we're pretty well known in our little group, but it's a little group,
Yeah.
so
Well,
we need to spread more.
and it's like, then when you get good at what you're doing, so like right now we've been working on processes and structures, and now that we've gotten to the point where we have those 80% in place, because it's the 80-20 rule,
Yeah.
and we could spend another huge amount of time chasing that last 20, or we can go ahead and keep working on that just a little bit as we need to, and we'll switch to the next big thing, which is marketing.
Marketing, outreach.
Because we're getting to the point where we've got enough properties out there that without marketing further, we're going to overwhelm the market that we already have.
Yeah.
So we have to expand the market in order to continue to build and grow.
Yep.
And you get to a point where you don't have a choice. It's either implode and collapse downward again, or keep building out the structure to support the continued
Yeah,
growth.
and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we've
So-
set our schedule for 2024. We know what's coming for every month. We've identified various markets conventions we want to go to and explore,
Mhm.
and then we're looking at the budgets for those, going, how are we going to do that? So it's like, okay, kick up the marketing. So it's this long process of circling back and going through things, which is 24 and 24, Wallbanger. That's our goal. And I kind of threw out a challenge to people. It's like submit a story for every one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might not
know,
make it in every one,
but
but
submit
you'll
it-
have 24 stories.
But 2 stories a month,
So
it's completely doable.
yeah, it's very possible.
So
Yeah.
Unless things are eating your brain.
well,
Which
that-
happens.
that
I mean-
happens. Yeah, it's like at a check
So-
off moment, something crawls inside. So,
Yeah.
That's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
There's an earwig in there.
no, but that is the goal. It's okay. We've set that. It's ambitious,
Yeah.
but we figured. I mean, if we can do 6 books since LibertyCon, we can do it.
Yeah.
And
We
we're
can do
getting
6
more
books in this last brutal 2 months.
right. So, but
Yeah.
we've also figured out our cycle and figured out to add to our cycle, make it longer. Right. We've been PMSing for 6 weeks. So that's exactly what's been going on. So, but we're like going to go to different areas in different parts of the country, and we're trying to figure out how the hell we're going to do that.
Right. And some
Yeah.
of it's, so if we're not taking books, we can fly there. Yay!
Uh-huh.
Not a 2-day trip. But some of it's like, okay, so if we need to drive there, what do we need to have? What do we need to take with us? Whose cars?
Used cars. Are we
Yeah.
staying in the hotel or not? Are we getting an Airbnb? Are we doing something cheaper? What?
Right.
How much is it to get in? If we're panelists, can we get in cheaper? Okay, I guess we're panelists. So, I mean, so all of that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and this convention, we've been there before and we've been panelists, but we didn't have any time to do the work
Mm-hmm.
because we were on panels. So are we just going to go and be in the bar? Or are we going to have a meetup? What do we do? So
Yeah.
it's all
Mhm.
of that is we're trying to figure out for the coming year. Well, we've
Yeah.
sort of figured it out. So
But making those plans and making those, putting those plans in place and making the budgets for what we need to do, we at least have a better idea
yeah.
when we can implement them. And yeah, and less panic at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Preparing beforehand.
Oh my God, we're
Makes
outlining
it-
instead of pantsing.
It's very weird for me.
I know you're a pantser,
I am.
I am too. So
and I am totally an outliner. I'm
and this is why you're on
totally an
the team.
outlier.
This is why she's our production manager. Make
But
sure that we have pants.
I can pants with the best of them. Because I prepared pants
I
with the
was
best
going
of
to say
them
you
in
can make
30
pants.
seconds.
Make pants, yeah.
Well, no, but it's like I can do both. But it's
Oh,
all
crap.
of that.
Pants. I'm sorry. I have pants. Remind me.
You have pants?
Well, I have pants that are too long for me but may fit Courtney. So I have them in a bag, and I walked out of the house and left them.
That's okay.
That's
So,
okay.
It's not like I don't see you that often. It's
Right.
more of a pants.
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 It reminded me.
There's a song in there.
Mas pantalones.
I wear no. Oh wait.
I wear no pants. I mean, I'm a skirt.
I have to say, fitting pants can be so much fun.
Yes.
So we did when we did Carmen. I had this big, beautiful baritone who was in several other shows with me that had gotten really buff because he was doing Dead Man Walking,
Oh.
and we made a full Toreador outfit for him.
Oh.
And fitting the stretch wool, I was like, my cutter, who's does the pattern drafting and the cutting, and it was like, oh no, I get to fit this one. Because they're very personal pants.
Yes, they are.
They're very personal pants. So, and they have to fit just right.
Just right.
So, and then we had two very young boys to be his little, they were his like assistants, and they had to wear very personal pants. So that was fun.
Oh dear.
Yes, and they fit very, very well when I got done. I miss parts of my job.
I was gonna say there are always
There's always
upsides to any job. I mean, even my current job, as much as it's been a pain in the tush for the last week and a half, and it's gonna keep.
Tush was involved. Yes.
Yes. Well, I mean,
I'm
I am
distracted.
just. I'm very happy.
Towel and a cigarette. So. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, my current job, I have an amazing boss and fantastic team members that I work with, and that means that even though the job itself is like right now, it's still okay because I've got this. So, and most day jobs have been like that, and the one that was not like that I fled as quickly as I could because it was toxic through and through, and it just kept getting worse the longer I stayed there.
Toxic working as a chemist seems to me to be a bad combination.
No, toxic with no proper safety.
Oh God.
No
Even worse.
safety training, and they were having us actively do unsafe things. And yeah, no,
A truly
No.
toxic job.
I ran, and I have no shame in the fact that I got out of that place as quickly as I could.
And look where you ended up. So.
Yeah, I ended up in Texas. I mean,
There are worse places.
Well, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you definitely left the frying pan and went straight to the fire, considering the weather.
yeah, it was decent today. It was only like 101.
Oh
I can't believe I just said that.
And this morning, it's like, wow, it's only 85. I'm like, and 85 in Oregon, we're all like, we're dying.
That's right.
My moss is drying out. Oh, that's you need to mist me down. You know?
moisturize me. Moisturize me.
Moisturize. And I'm like, oh, crazy. I was looking at my arms, and Rita was like, oh, honey, you're getting all crepey. It's like,
Yeah.
feels so good. There's no water nearby. Oh, God.
So we ran away to water.
Yes, we did.
On the way home today, we stopped, and I wound up parking in front of Gordon Lake, which is, having grown up with lakes, Gordon Lake is a pond.
It's a pond.
Uh-huh.
It's a pond, but it's water, and it was dancing in the wind and little sparkles. And so we just kind of parked and watched it for, 15, 20 minutes and talked, which was lovely because we have not been getting a lot of that recently. And planning our usual long chats, our dates, honestly, for my husband and I, have been get in the car and drive for several hours and stop for food and get in the car and drive home and maybe stop for some more food depending on what kind of a day we've got planned.
Does that mean we went on a date?
This is how we do
Technically,
dates.
yeah.
Yes, we technically had a date.
We did.
Roomy dates.
Well, no, we ran away from home.
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Sanford and I would do. When the kids would conspire actually sometimes, and they'd be like, "You're gonna go and do your driving thing," and they would like fix their own food and stuff and push us out the door. But we haven't done that in ages because of all the health stuff and work stuff.
Yeah.
And so today was like 15 minutes sitting there watching the lake sparkle because that was what we could do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you need to do. Run away and watch the water.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because water,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, actual flowing water,
Mm-hmm.
which is not common here.
No.
No.
And we explored what they consider to be a mountain as well.
They're very proud of their mountain.
I mean, comparatively,
it is.
If
It
you
is
look
the tallest.
around. I mean,
It is the
that's all
tallest
I've
piece
got.
in the landscape for a very long time.
yes, and the views are lovely.
Yes, it was a very
Yes.
lovely view.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
This is our mountain. Sure. Okay.
As I said before, I have learned not to argue with men about measurements. You can tell us it's a mountain.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I mean, my sister was in Colorado, I think, recently for work. She travels a lot
Nice.
for work. And she's all over the place.
Mountains.
So she sent me a picture of this lovely mountain landscape, and I was saying that I wish I could go visit the mountains and trees more because I'm not unhappy living here. I'm very happy with many aspects of it, but I do miss trees and mountains.
Trees and mountains.
So
And water.
water would be nice.
Water would be nice.
Having my garden just like die because it's been so hot and dry, and
I feel like your wilted garden. I really do.
I mean, I knew I needed to set up irrigation, and I was setting it up when the crisis happened, and haven't gotten back to it since then. And at this point, it's like I'm trying to keep a couple of things alive because they're trees and they were freaking expensive. But other than that, I'm gonna have to rethink trying to garden in Texas. It may involve large rocks, and that's about it.
And when it does rain, it like snaps off the power poles. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
and I have a half a tree laying next to my house, and the neighbor whose tree it is has said that he was sending a tree crew, and so I'm like,
yeah, they're kind of busy right now.
they are very busy.
We had a major storm in our neighborhood, which resulted in the north part of
lot
town
damage.
had a huge amount. A mall got destroyed
Yeah,
just because of a downburst. And
Yeah.
just right up the road from here. Had it come this way, a quarter mile, the shop would probably not have a roof. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they had a microburst that just ate telephone poles in a row, just snapped off like kindling, and silos littering the landscape.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, we found out through a mutual friend that a family in town was in dire need of perishable foods
Yeah.
because when the power goes out and it's over 100 degrees, what's in your fridge and freezer doesn't last long.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
doesn't.
And
And
I
they-
know, and we found out about one family, and I know from the damage that there's a
Mhm.
lot of people that
Yeah.
are
Well,
going to be
it's like
struggling.
4 and 5 days of no power, and the day after the storm it was 111.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which was interesting watching people use the Facebook groups they could get to
Mhm.
as a method of who needs this, where you need to go, where
Yeah.
can you go for cooling.
Mhm.
All kinds of
Right.
churches opened up. It was funny because some person was like, I don't understand why none of the churches are, and like 20 posts of all the different churches and all the things that they were doing for
Mhm.
dinners and
Yeah.
showers and place to stay.
there
And,
was a place that was opening up so that you could bring your pets.
Yeah.
If you couldn't
Mhm.
take your pets somewhere else, you could bring your pets to this one specific place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because pets hanging out when it's that hot, they're not used to it. It's not
Mhm.
good for them.
oh, I'm not used to it. I'm like,
So-
well, it's at 75.
So yeah, it's really difficult when you have these kind of, and then we had the fires.
Yeah, they turned on the next day and had fires.
So
Big, huge
I
ones.
mean,
so
it's like we had the big storm and then we had fires, and it's just been this area has been just hit hard.
well, it's sort of like, and then we got crickets. So this is
The
hilarious.
really big ones. Oh my god.
The really big ones. This is a funny thing. I have to tell you guys a story. Right next door to me is a jewelry store, and they've gone off because his mother passed away. So they're off at a family thing, and they're going to be gone for a week.
Mhm.
Day after they leave, I'm sitting here in the shop when my head is trying to explode because I got a snort full of pecan smoke, and their alarm goes off, and I'm like,
Because crickets.
and it's it's really loud next to me, right?
Mhm.
So I go out front and I look, and there's nobody in the parking lot. There's nothing going on. You can't see anybody in their space. I know nobody's in the back because they have a giant bar on their door. So I'm like, what the hell? So the police shows up, and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. If there's nothing there. So they leave. About an hour later, the alarm goes off again. And I'm like, oh crap. So I go out front, can't see a thing. And I've got like 3 police cars 5 minutes later because it's a jewelry store. And we're standing there. I'm going, I don't know what's going on. There's no wind. Nobody was here pushing on the door. Nothing. And then we see this gigantic cricket go bink, bink, bink on the counter. And they have motion detectors. And there's 3 crickets in the shop bouncing around, setting off the motion detectors and the alarms. It was just like, and it's the big suckers, because I get the little black ones. I walk in every morning and I have a chorus of crickets, and then they bounce off the wall and end up on their back, and I'm like, you can lay there and die, So I've got little piles of crickets in weird spots, but I'm just waiting for cricket season to be over. But the really big ones cause a problem.
Yes.
They're setting off the alarms.
Well, and we literally do have locusts right now because we had a relatively cool, wet spring, and then it got ungodly hot. But it was perfect weather for an explosion of insects. So we have a massive amount of grasshoppers. And we get they grow and they grow and they grow. So we get them the big locust thing. And a lot of the gardeners around here, like, if it wasn't the heat, the grasshoppers ate it. So.
Yeah.
Well, and what I really love the big ones, because I get a moment of feeling like I'm a rock star, because I go out to my car and I have to go across this little grassy patch, and they're all like, oh my God, get out of the way. I'm like, I like this. This is kind of fun. But they're huge. And the cops are like, oh my God. I'm like, it's the so
it's the crickets.
It's the huge crickets banging around on top of the cabinets in there. So
motion detectors. That was pretty funny.
It was kind of hilarious, but the alarm was so loud. With my face hurting. I was just like, of course this would happen. Of course.
And usually I try to come here at some point during the week, because nominally I'm supposed to be here so I can actually write. But this last week and a half or so is like, no, there's nothing in my head.
Well, but actually it's been kind of fun, because she's been doing what we do to help each other, is be a spot to vent. So and some of our
I've been doing way too much of that. I'm sorry.
No. It's your turn.
It's your turn. And it's actually kind of funny sometimes.
I try to make it funny sometimes.
You just
You
don't
don't have
write about
to.
it. It's so funny.
There's times I'm just like, I'm gonna explode.
Okay. Come closer. Go ahead. It's okay. And when you get done, you get to poke my button, and then I'll do it for a while. So.
and I do. I mean, I try to check in with you guys, see how you guys are doing, but the thing is that
She
I
brought me
really
cookies last week.
Well, yeah, you needed cookies.
I needed cookies
and a couple of other things, and it was like
cookies and
But-
ho-hos
but
and little Debbie rolls.
when I'm in a really bad place and I'm to the point where I don't trust myself anymore, and then I come see you guys and I'm like, and you're like, yes, you're good, or no, that's not good.
Usually it's okay to be mad about that.
But I really try hard not to be on social media at all, because I'm not going to air everything in social media public spaces. No.
The inside of my car should be blue at this point.
So I'm just like, okay, come find friends. But this is the lovely part of having a support group in person.
This is why we have the blanket fort, because everybody needs a blanket fort.
Yes.
So
yes, and having people that you can trust to bounce things off of is really good. It really is.
What's the gut check of, is this a reasonable thing to be mad about? Yes, it's reasonable. Okay, good. I'm good. Or,
4 or 5 broadcasts ago, we had a big talk about being resilient in the face of challenges. And we thought we had challenges then.
Well, We were funny.
Oh,
And you know what? I think we just demonstrated it over the last 6 weeks. So.
Yeah, you've done our resilience, but having people there who can prop you up or can.
Well, and also the best part too, I have to say, because it's you guys who've done this. Every time we were having a little difficult time, and we'd send out contracts, and we get like 4 or 5 people popping up, going, "I'm a new writer. I'm a baby writer," and we're like,
yay!
"That's why we're here."
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just like, thank you so much for that. So,
And I got the
hey
nicest.
Casey, it's
Hey,
Casey.
Casey.
Hi, darling. We're talking about resilience in the face of a whole lot of stress and trauma.
Which you would know nothing about.
You know nothing about.
I think one of my favorite things has been oh my gosh, I just got my first royalty check.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, did I actually make money on that story?
Oh, that was the
Yes.
best.
Yes,
It was
you
just
did.
the best. She's like, "Oh my god, is that for 2 months?" No, that's for 1. She's like, "What?"
The second one hasn't been out long enough to get royalties yet. This is just for the first one. Oh my god.
That was the best.
That was wonderful.
absolutely the best of just people realizing, I got my first check. I got my first payment. So,
Well, and then the other thing too that goes along with that, because it's something that happened for me this week, and it was just really, I needed it, and I was so happy when it happened, was I got a review. Pat Patterson, who does
Yay.
absolutely wonderful reviews, did a review. He's catching up on stuff, so he did a review of a book that I put out like 2 years ago.
yeah.
The Groundskeeper book, which I'm working on the 3rd story in that series, but and he just said some really nice things in the review, and I've actually like screenshot them and put it on Facebook. And then the review, being super nice, got compounded by Dave Freer comparing me to Pratchett.
Oh.
And I had a moment.
Oh.
Because
and you got a Dragon nomination.
yes.
This is a Dragon nominated cover artist right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
I'm still haven't wrapped my head around that, but what makes me super happy is that the book has gotten some attention from
Yes.
that. The book got on Instapundit because of that, and I don't know. I mean, there's a nice little bump of sales and attention for it, which was phenomenal. Because I don't care. I'm not going to win that one because there's some phenomenal covers up there, and mine's more on the abstract side. But the fact that the book got that attention and the PTSD anthologies are near and dear to my heart, so I'm so happy.
Yeah. And what's nice about that category is we know all of them. We know the publisher, the writer, or the artist.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's an incredibly cool category.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, yay, go team.
It is, and it's wonderful. And I loved the dragons this year were much more balanced.
Yeah, they were just, it was what they were intended to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what I love is that it covered the entire gamut of science fiction,
Mhm.
not
And
just this group or that
fantasy
group.
yeah.
It's everybody.
Right.
So-
And it's like there were people that were trying to make a thing of it. It was like, Bane has 3 titles, and I'm like, only 3?
Only 3.
That's it.
But it's
Really?
a nice spread.
It's a great spread.
And I love that about it.
Okay, and But Not Broken is out of an independent press with a virtually unknown cover artist. So the fact that made it
Virtually
there.
Unknown. Says the woman with 3,000 people on her Facebook group. Yeah, nobody knows you.
It's
Nobody-
Facebook. Nobody sees me.
No, she's gonna say yeah.
But it's the fact that we can, for Raconteur Press, reasonably expect to get a Dragon nomination for one of our anthologies. Scratch that. Take that
It's
back.
yours. It's your little press.
Well, it's my little press for But Not Broken, but if we keep up with the good covers, that's the only way an anthology, unfortunately, can get into Dragon, because they don't have a short thing. We need a good short story award
We
thing,
do.
because
We really do,
some
because
of our
there's some-
authors deserve
Oh,
that.
Lord, some
We've
amazing
got
short
some
stories.
amazing.
Ooh, Casey, just wait till she see the cover for All Will Burn. Oh my goodness.
So
but not
yeah,
yet. So, but no, it's just I love how the dragons came out this year. I
no,
love it.
and that's so encouraging to see that too,
Mhm.
because there was definitely a year of, oh dear, is this going to go the same way that a lot of the, oh yes, we know how to tease.
Hey, Courtney and I are going to be at MarsCon, so I don't know if you're going to make MarsCon this year, but we'll be there.
So yes, you do have to get that story finished,
Yes.
Brennan.
Brandon, get that story done.
You lived closer to us. We could ride her a little bit more close.
I should let Casey know and other people know we already have for one book for Virgin of All Will Burn. So we're going to be. Yeah.
And we have cover work for both. So.
Yeah. Because there's that many, and there's some really amazing heartfelt.
Oh my gosh!
Stories.
The stories are.
Casey, thank you so much for that idea. Because the stories that are coming in for it are just.
Well, Casey, it's awesome because Rick Cartwright, who did stories in both of the PTSD anthologies, knows that I don't at this point plan another one because life. But he took that he would have put into the third PTSD anthology, and it'll find a home, or he'll submit it anyway.
Yeah.
Whether we accept it or not, I don't know. But
Yeah,
he writes really well, so probably.
Yeah.
But he's sending it in for All Will Burn, and I was just so happy when I saw that, because I don't want to orphan people by not continuing that myself, and I think it's a good place for that kind of story.
It's good. So I'm just really pleased. We're getting an excellent response on it, and the stories that are coming in are just astounding.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've been reading through a couple of them just to.
Yeah, and some of them are like, whoa, and it's just it's going to be a tremendous collection. So
I know some people have opened a vein to write them some of these stories.
Yeah, well, that's like the PTSD stories. Is I knew. I mean, Laudog was telling me in person, and I could see how disturbed he was writing that, but he needed to write it, and he did.
Yeah.
And he apologized multiple times for not writing for the second one, and I'm like, dude, because that took a lot to do with the first one.
It's like, I think he took a coat of paint off the floor while he was writing that one.
Yeah,
it was like
but
back and forth.
But a bunch of people, when they sent me the PTSD stories, it was cathartic for them, and this is what Will is offering for some people.
It's being cathartic.
It's amazing.
So Casey, you hit a nerve.
Yeah,
you really did, Casey. You hit a good nerve on this one. So
and that's the other thing too, is that we're seeing with some of these anthology themes, because you'll see anthology themes get floated out there. People will put out open calls, and then they'll be like, "We got 4 stories."
Oh, we talked about this.
We did talk about this.
Okay, so I had an analogy. I was thinking about it this morning because, like, I don't talk in metaphor, right? So I was thinking this morning, I had been reading through a bunch of other open calls to just kind of get an idea of what's going on out there. And there's a bunch of them that because they keep posting them in T-Man More.
Right.
God loves Sam Robb.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, and it was like, we want a story like this, and we want this kind of setting, and then we want this, but we don't want any of that, and there needs to be this, and there should be this, and then with that. It's just like, and I was struck by the comparison to When Harry Met Sally, the salad ordering scene, where she was every single thing had to be just so, and be this way, and be that way, and I'm like, and people, we do like Space Cowboys, go. Yeah. They're like, do we want, like, do they ride horses? I'm like, whatever. Yeah. It's like, what about are they in Space Cowboys? No. Well, we just give permission.
Exactly.
Yeah,
permission to have fun, but also we come up with some really fun, catchy themes and ideas. I mean, Moggies in Space.
Oh my God.
Cats and space in science fiction have been a thing since the beginning. So tapping into that was a no-brainer as far as we had an artery and it geysered with that particular story set. But
well, and Space Cowboys was supposed to be 2.
Yeah.
And now we're at 4, and we have
we're going to 6.
We're going to go to 6. We're going to 6. So because there's that many,
and because there's so many authors that it just captures their imagination. And what we're banking on is the fact that our data set of authors is reflective of the larger population of readers.
Yes.
So
obviously, because they're selling.
Yeah.
So
no, and that's what I'm saying is we're banking on this. But so if you have an anthology that gets like 4 stories, things not right with
not
it.
right. Either you're too specific. or your frame is too tight and nobody feels like they can play.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're a little too open, but okay. We're going to experiment with some that are a little more tightly focused this coming year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which are going to be so much fun.
Yes.
We're dying because there's one we've already got a story from somebody. We're like,
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that we're just like, go play, give us your best stuff. So,
Right. Oh, and when we said Space Cowboys, I was thinking like Cowboy Bebop and Firefly. And what I've got, so I've done some kind of like that.
yeah,
I've gotten, mining stories in space. I've gotten like the whole gamut of Western stories
yeah,
in space, which has been fantastic.
yeah.
Mine was a Louis L'Amour story in space.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's fun to read the introductions that people send with their stories.
Mhm.
I had this idea when I was a kid. I was doing this thing, and I was like, I love the story of the story.
Right.
Which I almost
Right,
feel like
the
we need to
story.
like pull this out for little introductions,
Mhm.
because we're getting a like, I'm so glad you did this because I was really. I was like, oh, this is great. So
To answer the question about novels, because we did touch on it earlier, but
oh yeah, okay, so
come
we
back
talked about
to it
that
again.
earlier. Yeah,
and not in 2024.
no,
Yeah.
Right now, if somebody has a novel and they want to shop it to someone in Jumpmaster Press,
yeah, we have to
Um,
spend the year getting our systems in place because we're doing 24 anthologies, and we need to get that solid.
Mhm.
yeah,
But so we're not ready to go to novels, but we Jumpmaster Press,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Three Ravens. There was another one we were sending to. Depending upon what they are, we found a bunch of other small presses. They're like, go here.
yeah.
Um,
And don't apologize. Retouching on topics is
We
a
don't
good
mind.
way. Repeating
Mhm.
things
we don't mind a
people
bit.
remember.
This is something that people ask a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and we
because
don't mind. And we'll say it 30 times if we have to. So.
yeah, and part of the reason that we're not ready for anthologies yet is we want to make
Not
sure not
anthologies.
anthologies, novels. We're sticking with anthologies because we're using that to build our systems.
Yeah,
Yes.
We're not ready for novels yet because we want to do them right,
yeah,
and we want to make sure that we're getting the. I don't want to go into it half-assed
yeah,
Mhm.
and screw up somebody's first novel
yeah.
or their sixth novel. Like I don't want to do that.
No.
Wallbanger, we do not recommend.
Well, he's just so overloaded. He's got so much stuff going on right now over at CKP.
And he's very niche.
And he has a very specific outlook on what he does. Well, that's okay. That's another thing we have to point out.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go look for a publisher for your novel,
Yes.
because we do a wide range, I think we get a lot of people who come to us because we do the wide range
Right.
of different ideas. CKP is very focused on the military kind of things, although he's branching into fantasy more. And then there's Rob Howell doing his fantasy line.
Right.
Jumpmaster Press has very specific lines of novels that they
Mhm.
do,
Mhm.
right? So it's more like a matching the author to the press
Mhm.
of what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and yeah, I
And
think
with anything, it's like you always want to check references and recommendations.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so and
And,
just check with other authors and see
so-
if they're happy and
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
if you find a press that you think you want to work with, drop a question into Writer Dojo or North
Yeah.
Texas Troublemakers.
oh
Chance worked with them, and if they're not willing to say something publicly, they'll probably talk to you privately about
well,
it.
and there's so many of them right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing some really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're trying to recommend people that we know, that we trust,
Uh-huh.
we
That have clear contracts.
that have
Yeah.
clear contracts, and we're not throwing everybody. We don't want to throw everybody at the same person.
Yeah.
No.
Like
Yeah.
No.
So, like I said, and God bless Team and More, Sam Robb,
Oh
and
my
the
God.
gang,
Yeah.
because they're building a base of information
Mm-hmm.
for that very question of where
Yeah.
to send your novel.
Mhm.
So, and honestly, I think that's the best thing ever
Mhm.
is that combination. So, yeah, that's right, Casey. I wasn't sure. I was trying to think what it was about CKP. And I think it is the series stuff, right? And Chris has got so much in his pipeline right now. So, who was? There was another one. Oh crap! Like 3 presses at Imaginarium. Because we're just not set up to do them yet. They need so.
Mhm. And we're doing it Right.
Yeah.
We always want to be professional
Mm-hmm.
with the people that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get to a point where you can't be professional, then you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's too easy for something that's, so we're hanging on to the rocket that's firing across the desert right now. And we're like, hanging on to the handlebars. And we want to get control of where we are now with anthologies first.
We're lagging badly at the moment, so might
Uh-oh.
want to wrap it up.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So it's doing spinning circle of death. So,
Oh dear.
Not much we can do about that, but we are well over an hour.
oh,
so
we've hit past an hour again.
We always do.
So,
Oh.
yeah. So we just kind of hit the 7:00 go home from the internet. So we're gonna 7:00 go home. 10 minutes late. So anyway, we wandered all over the place again.
Yes.
So
We did.
Imagine that out Friday.
imagine that's coming out Friday.
Imagine that.
Go listen to the Writer Dojo episode that just aired today.
Yes.
Because we're on it. Well, Courtney's on it. I'm do not miss the after credits scene.
Yes.
Like a Marvel movie, it's worth waiting for.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I like Rob's stuff too. Rob's a great guy.
Yeah, Rob is
I
awesome.
love Rob Howell. He's just wonderful.
So.
He keeps trying to get me to move into the upstairs of his new building. I'm like, that's too far in the middle of nowhere. So
We'll go visit someday though.
yeah, we need to go visit him. And then we have Your Honor, I Can Explain comes out in the 28th.
Yes.
First of the Spurgle Chronicles.
Alma Boykin has a brand new one out from the Familiar Generations.
That woman
it
is
was
a
yesterday.
machine.
I know she's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Later, Casey. Thank you.
Bye. All right.
Okay, we're
gonna
done.
we're gonna
we're done.
go watch stuff. We're gonna sign off.
It's a
we
dark
will-
screen.
We'll see you guys next week.
Maybe it'll catch up on the replay.
Hopefully it catches back up.
I don't know with these things.